I'm a 29-year-old guy, and right now I'm in the middle of a pretty serious fight with my wife, who's 29. We've had our share of arguments before, like any couple does, but this one hit different. It's got me feeling completely stuck. I don't even know what the next move should be. Just to give some background, we've been together since college. We were those classic college sweethearts and ended up getting married nearly 6 years ago. We've got a little girl, our 4-year-old daughter, who means the world to us. Now, I'm not gonna pretend our relationship's always been smooth sailing. It hasn't. We've dealt with a lot, including pushback from family because of some cultural differences. But we've always figured things out. She's my first love, and honestly, she's also my best friend. My wife works in the corporate world, and every year her job sends her on these week-long work retreats. This year's was in Vegas. Normally, I shift around my work schedule so I can go with her, and we turn it into a little getaway, kind of a way to reconnect, just the two of us and sometimes even with our daughter. But this time, things didn't go as planned. Our daughter's been struggling with serious anxiety when it comes to long-distance travel. We've been trying to help her through it, but she just wasn't ready. And we figured, hey, you gotta pick your battles, right? So I stayed home and held down the fort. I'll admit I was pretty bummed about it. That trip's usually something we both look forward to. It gives us a break from the daily grind and helps us reset both as a couple and as a family. Lately, her job's been draining her. The work-life balance? Yeah, it's not great. She's always on the clock, and it's been wearing on us. We even talked about her skipping the retreat this time. It wasn't mandatory, but not going could have raised some eyebrows since she's been trying to build connections in her field. In the weeks leading up to it, she started acting a little off. We've got this unspoken rule that when one of us is away, we make an effort to stay connected. Nothing over the top, just regular check-ins, texting back, FaceTiming with our daughter, that kind of thing. At first, everything seemed normal. She was responsive, talkative, her usual self. But then she started pulling away. I'd send her texts, even ones about stuff that mattered, and she'd leave me on read. Later she'd say she never saw them. When we did talk, she'd rush me or brush off our daughter like she was too busy. This was during downtime, not while she was in any seminars or group events. One thing we were supposed to do was a little virtual birthday party for our daughter over FaceTime. Her birthday happened to fall during the retreat, and this celebration was something my wife promised her. Our daughter was so excited. She kept asking when it was happening. Then, out of the blue, my wife told me she couldn't do it. Said she had coworkers up in her hotel room after one of the events. It felt like she was asking me to give her the green light to back out of a promise to our kid. I told her I wasn't going to be the one to say yes or no. That was on her. She said I was being unreasonable, that this was an important networking moment and these people wouldn't get it if she just dipped out for family time. I told her, look, you make your choices, but then you need to explain that to our daughter because I'm not going to sugarcoat it. She promised to make it up the next day. But our daughter was crushed. She cried her little heart out, and when things got emotional, my wife just hung up and left me alone to pick up the pieces. That whole situation really didn't sit right with me. She never did follow through with that rain check either. To make matters worse, she was posting on social media during the retreat tons of photos and videos. One guy from her job, some 23-year-old new hire, was in almost every shot, practically glued to her side. In one picture, he even had his arm around her like they were way too comfortable. Apparently, she's been assigned to oversee him. I've met the guy before, and I don't like him. He's one of those dudes who doesn't know where the line is. At one point, he even texted her something along the lines of, "You're the kind of woman I need to keep me in check." Who sends the kind of message to their supervisor? She brushed it off. Said she felt bad for him because he was struggling to fit in, and she kind of took him under her wing for the retreat since it was his first time. But any time I brought anything up, she claimed she was too tired or busy networking. Something just felt off. I've seen her at these retreats before. This wasn't like her at all. Then, the day before she came back, she mentioned she had a bruise on her neck. Said it was from a bug bite. I didn't see it right away, but when she got home, I took one look at it and thought, yeah, that's no bug bite, that looks exactly like a hickey. What threw me was that she'd made such a fuss about it over the phone, and now she was trying to play it down. I didn't want to confront her in front of our daughter, so I waited. But when I finally brought it up, she stuck to her story. Said it was just a bug bite. When I kept pressing, she asked what I was trying to say. So I came out with it. Told her straight up that I thought it was a hickey and that I didn't think she was being honest with me. That kicked off a huge fight. She was furious that I'd accuse her of cheating. Cheating's a really sensitive subject for her. She's got family history there, so it cuts deep. But I wasn't gonna drop it. I told her it wasn't about our daughter's birthday, it was about that mark on her neck. The argument ended with both of us just shutting down. We haven't really worked through it since. She keeps insisting it was a bug bite, but I'm not buying it. I've always trusted her. Never really had a reason not to until now. That mark didn't look like any bug bite I've seen. And when I think about how weird and distant she was during that whole Vegas trip, it just adds to the doubt. Since she's been home, she's been wearing turtlenecks constantly, which only makes it feel more suspicious. One minute we're arguing, the next she's overly affectionate with me and our daughter, like she's trying to smooth things over without actually dealing with what happened. Normally, we're pretty solid at talking things through. That's always been our strength. But now it feels like we've hit a wall. I can't get past what I saw, and she won't really engage with me about it anymore. Honestly, I'm lost here. I don't know how to move forward from this, and I could really use some outside perspective. Right now, life feels like a roller coaster that doesn't stop. I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything. It took a while, but eventually my wife and I finally had a real conversation about that bruise on her neck. Before the talk, we were bouncing between silence and her showering our daughter and me with affection, like she was trying to make up for something without actually saying anything. She wore turtlenecks constantly, so I barely even saw the bruise. But I did track how it changed over time, started out a deep reddish purple and faded into that yellowish hue like bruises do when they're healing. We didn't talk about the Vegas trip anymore. She basically shut the door on that subject and made it clear she was done defending herself to me, as if just being my wife should have been enough to be trusted. I told her she could act however she wanted, but I wasn't going to keep letting her treat me like a fool. I couldn't share a bed with someone I didn't trust, so I moved into the guest room. From there, we barely spoke. The silence between us was thick, you could feel it hanging in the air. Even our daughter started picking up on it, and I hate that. I try real hard to keep her out of the mess between us. One night, my wife came into the guest room. Her eyes were red, and I could tell she'd been crying. She asked if we could talk. She said she hated what things had turned into. That no matter what she did, it felt like she was losing me anyway. I told her if she wanted to talk, I needed honesty completely, no more half-truths. That's when she broke down and admitted she'd hooked up with that coworker, the 23-year-old guy, on our daughter's birthday. That hickey? It was from him. She said they were caught up in the moment, started making out, some over-the-clothes fooling around, and then he went down on her. It didn't go any further because, according to her, he called her by a nickname I use for her. That jolted her back to reality. She said it made her realize just how far she'd gone. She splashed cold water on her face, saw the hickey, and told me the guy joked about it being her souvenir. That set her off. She snapped at him and kicked him out of her hotel room. She told me part of the reason she'd been so distant during the trip was because of the guilt. Said she couldn't keep lying to me. That she had to come clean. I asked her straight up, why? What was it about this guy that made her think he was worth blowing up everything we'd built? She said it wasn't about him, that she's not even unhappy with our marriage. But there's something broken inside her she can't explain. She said when she looks in the mirror lately, she sees her dad. A man who was always buried in work, disconnected from his kid, and who cheated on her mom. She said it scares her how much she's starting to mirror that. She went on to talk about how her family never talked about anything. That her mom never confronted or discussed the hard stuff with her growing up, and now she feels stuck repeating that same cycle. I told her straight, her parents didn't make her cheat. She made that choice. She decided to hook up with a guy who's been crossing boundaries for a while. At any point, she could have said no. She could have picked us, me, our daughter, our family. She nodded and agreed. Said she wants to blame her upbringing, but deep down, she knows this is on her. She apologized for cheating and for letting that guy's behavior go on for as long as it did. Then she told me she's willing to do whatever it takes to fix things. She'd report him to HR, quit her job, go to therapy, whatever it took. She just wanted to make things right again. But I told her I didn't even know what right looks like anymore, or if it's even possible for us. I always knew we had issues to work on, but I never thought we'd end up here. I thought no matter what, we could talk through anything. She insisted we still could. She kept saying we didn't have to give up, that we could still fight for us. Gave this emotional little speech about how we're worth saving. But I just sat there, numb. I told her I didn't recognize her anymore. It wasn't just the cheating. It was how she treated our daughter during all this. That hit hard. She felt like a stranger. She told me she feels like she's failed as a wife and a mom, but that she loves us both more than anything. She still wants our life together, our family intact. I told her I couldn't give her the answer she wanted right then. That we needed space to separate and figure things out. She was against it. Said we should try to stay under one roof for our daughter's sake. But I said no, a separation was happening. Either she left the house or I was going to with our daughter. Eventually, she agreed to leave. Said she didn't want our little girl to go through more upheaval than necessary. But she asked me not to take our daughter away from her entirely. So right now, my wife's staying with her parents. I know that's a tough spot for her, she doesn't have the smoothest relationship with them. But that's where she is. One of the hardest parts in all this is watching the shift through our daughter's eyes. Right now, she just thinks her mom's caught up with work like usual. She hasn't asked too many questions yet, and I'm trying to keep it that way for now. My mother-in-law actually called me the other day. She didn't make any excuses for her daughter's behavior, but she did urge me not to give up right away. She told me about times when she overheard my wife talking about me, how I'm the anchor she always wanted in her life. Despite the friction we've faced with her side of the family over the years, my Emile has always rooted for us. She still believes there's something worth saving if I'm willing to try. And honestly, I'm still all over the place. I never thought this would be part of our story. I never thought my wife, the person I trusted most, would be the one to betray me. She was my safe place. Now I feel numb and shattered all at once. Truth is, I still love her. That part hasn't changed. But the way I see her, see us, see our family, it's different now. Everything feels raw and uncertain. For now, I think this separation is the right move. I don't know if it leads to divorce. I haven't let myself go there yet, not fully. But I'm also not ruling it out. I'm just trying to focus on our daughter and take things one day at a time. That's about all I've got the energy for. Things have been chaotic lately as we adjust to this new normal after my wife's affair. I've just been trying to take it one step at a time, keep my head above water, and stay grounded for our daughter. My wife and I sat down with our little girl, she's 4, and explained the separation in the simplest way we could. No messy details. Just that mommy and daddy wouldn't be living in the same house for now, but we both still love her very much. We reassured her that none of this is her fault and that she's still our top priority. She's a sharp kid, very observant, but I don't think it's totally sunk in yet. Honestly, with how often my wife used to be tied up with work, our daughter doesn't seem to see a huge difference between that and her not being around now. During visits, though, I've noticed a shift. She clings to me and keeps her distance from her mom. There was a moment when my wife tried to sit down and play with her on this toy set, and out of nowhere, our daughter snapped, told her she didn't want to play with her. That one stung. I could see how much it hurt my wife too, but it also hit me hard. That disconnect between them is something I'm still trying to process. I always knew my wife's long work hours were wearing on us, but I didn't realize how fractured their bond had gotten until now. Before the Vegas trip, we were supposed to be focusing on reconnecting as a family. But now that we're here, the cracks are plain as day. Our daughter barely talks when her mom is around. She gets quiet, the same way she does around people she's not comfortable with. At her age, her parents should be her safe space, not just one of us. And it breaks me that it's come to this. I've been doing a lot of reflecting. Right now, my number one priority is making sure my daughter is okay, emotionally and mentally. She didn't ask for any of this, and I don't want her to carry the weight of our mistakes. As for things between my wife and me, she's still holding on to hope for reconciliation. She keeps saying she wants to work on our marriage, not just because of our daughter, but because she still loves me. But all those rally cries she keeps throwing at me, they just don't land. I told her, point blank, I wish she'd put all this fight into saving our marriage before she went and cheated. She's stuck on this story, that things with that coworker started because she felt sorry for him. Said he didn't fit in, and he kept flirting, giving her all this attention. She said it felt good on the rougher days at work, especially when she was feeling invisible. She now admits they had what amounts to an emotional affair, even though she didn't realize or name it that at the time. That emotional mess turned physical during the retreat. She told me she kind of dissociated from her life back home. Vegas felt like its own bubble, and she just drifted into it. She still insists they only had sex once. The hickey came from all the fooling around beforehand. While he was going down on her, he called her a pet name I use for her. That apparently snapped her out of it. She got angry, said she scolded him for being immature about the hickey and kicked him out of her suite. According to her, that was the end of it. She thought she could just brush it under the rug and somehow still save our marriage. One thing I asked her, and I'm not even sure why, maybe I just needed to know, was if she wore her wedding ring when it happened. She told me yes. That wrecked me. To me, our wedding rings were more than jewelry. They were our vows made real, something we could look at and remember what we stood for. Now I can't even put mine on. It's like it burns. She admits now that she blurred lines that should have never been crossed. She's changed her phone number and says she cut off all contact with the guy. She even reported the affair to HR at her company. Both she and the coworker are suspended while the company looks into it. Apparently, their policy is strict about office relationships. And because she was in a position of authority over him, it's not looking good for her. They're reviewing whether she showed him favoritism or compromised department dynamics. Some people have suggested I reach out to the guy directly. But honestly, I'm not in the right headspace for that. The amount of anger I feel toward him, it's not something I could keep in check. He knew exactly what he was doing, especially with the nickname. I don't see that conversation ending in anything productive. He's not worth my energy. I'm choosing to focus on my daughter instead. I've started going to marriage counseling, not as some promise to patch things up, but more as a tool to help us navigate the separation in the healthiest way possible, especially with our daughter in the mix. Even now, I still feel numb in so many ways. I never pictured this being the shape my marriage would take. You hear about this happening to other people, you think you understand the pain, but when it hits your own life, it's different. It changes everything. I don't know what the future holds. It's a steep climb from where we are. But I'm trying. I'm showing up, even when I don't feel like it. That's all I can really do right now. Things still aren't easy, and honestly, I don't expect them to be. I don't regret the choice to separate. It needed to happen. After everything, after the lies, the betrayal, I felt like I didn't have a real choice. My hand was forced. I'm still trying to find steady ground under me. I never looked at my wife like she was perfect or put her on a pedestal. And I've always known no relationship is flawless. But I just never pictured us ending up here. Not after everything we've shared. All the years we've spent building a life together. While her company's HR was still doing their investigation into the situation between her and that coworker, yeah, the 23-year-old guy she cheated with, my wife ended up resigning from her job. Apparently, there were higher-ups trying to convince her to stay. That didn't surprise me too much. She's always been a go-to kind of employee. Super dependable, gets things done, says yes to whatever's needed. She started with that company back when she was still an intern in college. She told me that quitting was her way of showing she's serious about cutting all ties with him. I don't know what came out of the investigation on his end, and to be honest, I don't care. That's not something I'm spending energy on. We've officially started marriage counseling. It's been new. I didn't know what I'd feel going into it. So far, it's mostly been about unpacking our relationship, how we got here, the affair, and what we're hoping to get from the process. My wife's story about how it all started hasn't changed. She still says it wasn't because she was unhappy with me, but because something inside her feels broken. The undivided attention she got from him? She says it felt like a drug, something she couldn't get enough of. That led us into talking about her upbringing, her parents, especially her dad, and the effect his cheating had on the way she sees herself now, both as a mom and a partner. She told me she spent years trying to convince herself she wasn't like him. As a parent, she tried to justify being mostly absent by showering our daughter with gifts, thinking that was enough to make up for not being around. As a spouse, she told herself she was better because, before Vegas, it hadn't gotten physical yet. She kept telling herself, as long as nothing physical happens, I'm not like him. She even told that to her affair partner during the retreat, that they could hang out as long as it didn't get physical. But honestly, I feel like she had so many chances to stop this train before it hit us. She could have chosen our family. She could have chosen our daughter. She could have chosen me. But every single time she chose herself. It wasn't just our relationship that wasn't enough, it was everything. Our wedding vows. Our rings. Our daughter crying and asking for her mom. None of that was enough to stop her. She keeps bringing up how hearing the nickname I use for her snapped her out of it, like that's supposed to make it hurt less. It doesn't. In my gut, I believe she only stopped because she already got what she wanted. I don't think I was on her mind at all. Her saying I was just feels like another excuse, like trying to slap a band-aid on a bullet wound. During one of our sessions, when it was my turn to talk, everything kind of spilled out. I hadn't planned to say half of what I did, but once the door opened, it all came rushing out. She didn't argue. She agreed. Said she has no excuses, no one to blame but herself. Not her dad, not her upbringing. Just her. She told me she loves me and our daughter and that she still wants to fight for our family. But I told her straight, I don't believe those I love yous anymore. They feel hollow. She shut both of us out to give the most vulnerable, intimate parts of herself to someone who had no right to them. She admitted that the affair was just part of it, that there's a bigger problem underneath it all. She struggles to connect with our daughter. She's afraid of screwing her up, so she left most of the parenting to me. She told me she thinks I'm better at it, and maybe that's true. But it doesn't make any of this easier. She said she knows there's nothing she can say that'll fix it, but she wants to show me she's trying by how she acts now, not with words, but with behavior. That's something we've started working through in counseling. We're still early in the process, but I will say it's helping us communicate during this separation, which I think is important for the sake of our daughter. Our therapist recommended individual therapy as well. I'm looking into it seriously. I know I've got stuff I need to unpack alone too. As for our daughter, not much has changed since the last update. She still doesn't seem to register her mom's absence as something different from her usual, always working mode. But I've seen moments where she'll go from playful and chatty to silent the second her mom walks in. Like a switch flips. I've scheduled her for play therapy. I don't really know what to expect, but I'm hopeful. My goal is to stay present for her, to be consistent, to give her a sense of safety when everything else feels shaky. I know I've got to figure out how to trust again in general. That's been completely shattered. Before Vegas, I never doubted my wife. She was the one person I could count on, no matter what. And now, she's the one who broke me in a way I've never been broken before. I've dealt with betrayal in my life, but this one cut the deepest. Right now, I'm just trying to stay afloat. Trying not to let the weight of all this drown me. I keep telling myself to focus on what I still have, not what I lost.